When I was growing up, my dad always stressed that reading books was like the most important form of education. I read Period Power, a manifesto for the menstrual movement by Nadia Okamoto. Nadia Okamoto is the founder and executive director of Period. Period is a nonprofit global youth-powered organization that works to destigmatize menstruation, so normalize it, talk about it more, talk about where the shame comes from, why it exists, that sort of thing, and then also provide menstrual products to people in need.
But what exactly is Period fighting for or against?
Period poverty, which is the lack of access to menstrual products, and it affects so many people. It affects 1 in 5 low-income menstruators in the United States, specifically in big cities. It's not surprising because there are so many people that lack access to resources in the United States and like in the world.
Period poverty is a human rights issue and also like a public health issue because you don't have access to like proper, pads, tampons, stuff like that. That is like a health risk if you're using tampons for too long or whatever. Like you can get toxic shock or like other like infections, things like that. So it's a health issue.
I don't look at it as an issue for a specific gender. I just look at it as like a human rights issue because it's one of our bodily functions.
People consider menstruation to be like a women's issue, and we want to advocate for the fact that menstruation is not just a women's issue, it's a human rights issue, it's a gender equality issue or gender inequality issue, a patriarchal society issue.
Though Period faces many challenges, the organization has goals to overcome them.
There's like 450 plus Period chapters across the United States and across the globe. And what they do, we have like 3 goals. So advocating for providing free menstrual products in all bathrooms, whether that be on high schools or college campuses or just, organization company bathrooms. And also advocating for abolishing the tampon tax, just a sales tax on so-called luxury items. And that includes, unfortunately, pads and tampons, menstrual cups, things like that. The second thing is education, so educating our communities about the stigma against menstruation and how it fuels period poverty. And then service, which is providing menstrual products to people in need. And the way we do that is we hold packing parties where we create period packs. One little paper bag has 9 tampons and 6 pads, and basically that's supposed to be enough to cover 1 menstrual cycle. And then we take those menstrual packs, those period packs, and we distribute them to homeless shelters and to homeless menstruators directly.
It's not surprising to me because it's not something that we talk about, so it makes sense, I think, that a really big need like that could go unnoticed by so many people because it's not something that we talk about. It's something that you're supposed to handle like quietly and on your own and like not make it a big thing.
On October 19th, Period chapters around the nation were far from quiet.
National Period Day, it's like our first official period-related holiday. Basically, the purpose of it is to call attention to the cause, really. And we're demanding an end to period poverty and the tampon tax in Washington State, calling all our legislators to, act on this issue now.
It was interesting to see a huge group of people at this park for the same reason I was there. It was raining. It was not that great of weather. It was just really bad. We were having a hard time with setup, but we pulled through. I think people underestimate how much you can get done when you have a large group of people that are very passionate about a single idea.
Though you may be wondering that without Period and those fighting for menstrual equity, what would happen to menstruators in need?
We wouldn't be having a national conversation about period poverty, which is something that is going on right now, which I think is really cool. There would be a lot of people not getting access to the resources that they need to just live healthy, functioning lives. I I think that a lot of things that everybody should be able to have access to are treated as privileges, not rights. And I think menstrual products are one of those things.
You can't begin to fix a problem unless you acknowledge that the problem is there, and I think our problem is that we're not acknowledging it's even an issue to begin with.
No one ever talks about menstruation, and in order to overcome period poverty, Period wants to change that.
Menstruation has not always been easy to talk about. In high school, I was the girl that like slid the pad up her sleeve or like put it in her boot or like hid the pads in the grocery line from my dad when we were in the same grocery line. Like, that's insane, right? He conceived me, but like still, I was like, oh no. Now that I talk about it every single day, it's to like random people, it's much easier. One of the things that really fuels period poverty is stigma, right? Or a lack of ability to talk about it. So having more conversations with people that don't want to have the conversations, I think is really important. And I would love to see that happening on a bigger scale.
WSU Period members have big dreams for the future of period poverty.
That it won't be an issue anymore, honestly. I know that's a long shot, but someday that, you know, having menstrual products in public restrooms, for example, that will be just as normal as having toilet paper or hand soap, because it should be.
I grew up with 4 sisters and my mom, of course. So menstruation was never like a taboo topic for me. It was always kind of like something casually brought up at lunch or breakfast. To me, it's so normalized already because I'm around people that treat it that way. And my hope, I guess, is we overcome that obstacle. People eventually just start talking about periods like health, because that's what it is. It's a health-related issue, I guess.
Period believes menstruation is nothing to be ashamed of and should be talked about and celebrated.
Anytime we can be talking about menstruation and breaking down that stigma, that is part of what we're doing and part of what will help us solve the problem eventually. If we can all talk about it freely, then it's something that we can all address together.